This is Lord Pie, Tie-Dye, a long-time sim player. Been playing since August of 2000. I was all of 15 years old back then. I am now an old-ass 33. And what I want to do here is create a weekly, bi-weekly webisode type deal where we go over some topics and questions that you may have, as well as giving advice and how to play and what to look for and things like that. Simply put, I'm going to call it Stop Sucking at the Sim. That's going to be the name of the series. And for today's episode, I'm just going to go over the basics of stables, running stables, resting horses, claiming. Just some general topics that if you play the game seriously or semi-seriously, that you've probably breached yourself, but I'll just give you my take on it. You can take it for what it's worth, but I'd like to think at some point I learned at least a little bit on how to play. And my recent successes have really given me confidence to talk smack. Just a little warning, I will curse a lot in here and I will talk shit. So if you are listening to this and you're worried about kids hearing profanities, or you're worried about your sorry ass feelings being hurt, then I am just giving you a heads up that this is how this web episode is going to go. So let's get started here. As you can see, here's my sim stable finance screen. Tie-Dye racing stables. You got the old Silks and the old Bulb. And you can see my rundown. I have 50 stables, and lo and behold, I have 500 horses that are active. Yeah, 50 stables, 10 spots in a stable, all slots are filled. Don't be one of these assholes that has 50 stables and their number is like 282. So I got a full racing collective, and I have 148 horses in the farm. This is actually a new development that I had, and recently, last couple of years, started to utilize the farm a whole lot more. And not only in this episode, but maybe in future ones, we'll go over why you should put horses on the farm, how long, does it make a difference, that sort of thing. I certainly believe in it as a waiting, like a wait and see approach to it. I don't believe in it as much as giving necessarily a horse really, like an extended rest per se, but I do believe in it as a factor to keep the number of races that a horse is entering and training for down to a minimum. So we'll go over that a little bit. Alright, let's see what we have here. Let's get all my horses. Well, let's sort by badges. One thing you'll notice is, let me certify races really quick. I try to keep our veterans, our old rough and tumble war horses. I hate to say it, I get rid of them once they stop producing. They go into the retirement bin. Some have a longer shelf life than others, but as soon as it turns, you're not going to turn a 44 racehorse into sudden champion again. So, you know, this horse did have a win, 3 back. He's beating up on 3,500 open claimers. Probably going to be just outright retired soon enough. Let's take a look at another one. You know, this 1-2 races back. So, you know, still producing, still, you know, win in the last 6 months. But as I go through here, you'll notice, you know, there's 6-year-olds, 5-year-olds. You know, these are the war horses, I like to say. But, you know, to be honest, there's no there's no delusions of grandeur here. We know, you know, it's a known fact just based on empirical evidence that horses after their, whatever it is, 25th, 27th, 28th start to go downhill quickly. You're not going to suddenly find in, you know, start 30, 31, 32, you know, a big monstrous stakes effort. I mean, look at this horse, Taybridge. Shout out to Next Bonus, who I claimed this horse from way back down here for 75,000. Turned him into a multiple stakes winner. But look, 114 here, going 10.5. You know, tried turf a couple of times again, but the horse hasn't returned to that form. This was start horses at 30, so this is 30, 29, 28, 27, 26. Start 25. Beautiful effort against a 13-horse stakes field, gate to wire, which is basically what this horse specializes in, gate to wire victories. But since then, you know, tried to drop in class, you know, getting just beat handily, just losing the lead, not competitive in allowances anymore. It's either going to be high-end claimers or most likely high-end claimers. The breeding's not particularly awesome, so I'm not going to he-mare the horse, but, you know, maybe high-end claimers, yeah, I might he-mare. This is really good speed, you know, 10, 11, 12 classic distances. So, you know, we'll see, but that horse is really close. But, you know, if you're really looking for runners to run in stakes races, you need to really look at the zone of 10 to 20 races under a horse's belt. And that includes really, you know, horses that are 4 years old. You know, the thing about 3 and 4 and 5 year olds is you really have to plot your race schedule and your races appropriately, or else, for lack of a better term, you're going to waste, you know, worthwhile starts. As a 2-year-old, if you start, you know, something ridiculous like 12 times as a 2-year-old, you know, you can really forget about being useful as a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. You know, same thing as a 3-year-old. If you raced like 6 times as a 2-year-old and then as a 3-year-old you put in, you know, 13 races, you're just not going to be too useful as a 4-year-old. You're just going to get beat by, you know, fresher, more strategically scheduled horses. So let's go down here. Let's go down to kind of our mash point of 10 races and see what we got going on down there. Okay, so you know, did some claiming lately. Like, I got a 6-year-old with 11 races. I mean, that's a pretty good setup. That's a setup you want, especially if you're going to be sending a horse along. You know, definitely worth that $35,000 sim dollars and however many breeding points it was. So, let's go. Dances with Bulbs, 10 starts, 4-2-2. 4-year-old filly turns 5 at year's end. You know, this was a late season. This was actually a late season 3-year-old breed that I didn't actually start till she was 4 years old. But you can see, you know, the numbers are going up steadily. We're coming into the mash point of 10 starts. You know, the horse is progressing nicely. You know, classic distances, especially on dirt, 8, 9, 10. It's really hard to make huge jumps to graded racing competition. You really are going to have a tough time going from, you know, against older non-winners a 1X straight to a graded stake. They're tossing around 115 speed ratings, and then they have riders that are fully capable of doing worthwhile, so it's going to be a hard sell there. Alright, so let's see the graded placing here. So 10 starts. 10th start was the aforementioned graded jump, 3-year-old. Nice effort. So really, you want to look at that window, 10 to 20 races, 3-4-year-old. That's where you're going to get your best starts, your best improvements. And so the question is, if you start an early season 2-year-old, how are you going to get through the whole 2-year-old season and 3-year-old season with a minimal number of races? That's where the farm comes in. So we have these horses. Let me go sort differently here. So as you can see, a lot of training in progress here. A little bit staggered. It's nice to actually race horses like every week. So, alright, here we go. We have horses not in training, and then we have the farm. So you may have seen the farm, and you may have thought to yourself, well, what the hell am I using the farm for? I like racing. I like runners. Yeah, I mean, we all do. But if you want your runners to have a legitimate chance, you know, wait, be patient with them. Be patient. Especially if you have runners that are bred from horses that like 10 furlongs or longer. It's mystifying to me that I see these horses and they're put in claimers, and you know, they've been racing at like 5 furlongs and 6 furlongs, and then I look at, you know, the dam they're from, and the dam was, you know, a stakes winner at 12 furlongs. Like, what are you doing? What do you think's going to happen when a horse races, you know, 5 and 6 furlongs when, you know, its mom was brilliant going 12, 13, 14? I just, you know, that's just not, you know, that's just impatience. You're just not going to see the horse's best. And to be surprised that you're not getting the best is just stupid. You know, so just literally hold your horses. Don't be stupid. You know, keep them in the farm. Keep them marinating in there. They're not losing a step. You know, especially since all new bred horses from mares, you know, are 2-year-olds. Just be patient with it. Let me see some of these at that I got kind of just waiting. Alright, we got a horse by Just Away, See the Stars, AP Indy, out of a dam named EA for Pie, how original I was back then. You know, this horse was good at a mile, beautiful breeding. But, you know, when I bred the horse Just Away, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to sit here and breed a speedster. This is, a mile plus pedigree. Yeah. So, into the farm the horse goes. Here's another one, Stalk Instinctively. So this is a type, who are we kidding? This horse could probably run, over jumps going 3 miles. So, let's look at the dam, Move Instinctively, stakes winner. So when we look at this dam, alright, where'd she do her best? 11 furlongs, 10 furlongs. The horse liked the long dirt. Horse really excelled. 10, 11, won 7 races in a row here. So, putting his horse in like a 6 furlong race and expecting him to, the horse to do anything worthwhile, this doesn't make any sense. But you see it all the time. You see it all the time in these claiming races. And it's dumb. It's just dumb. I try every once in a while. I go kind of on a weekly claiming binge, and I scoop up some of these horses that should be better going long. I just put them on the farm to just kind of sit there and hang out until they can go 9 or 10, and then if they're still closing, going 9 or 10 furlongs, put them in the farm again for another few months until the 12 furlong races come. So here's an example, sired by Americane. Americane won the 2-mile Melbourne Cup in Australia. So, I like a back end. Back end's kind of an old school Tilts pedigree, Crypto Clearance Strawberry Road. I was drawn to that pedigree. But look at the races this horse is going. This closing, these are types of closes you like to see. Grinding closes. It doesn't get terribly far back, but always finishing in the final call. This is a clear indicator to me that the horse is just going to get better running a route. Its dad, its sire, ran 2 miles. Certainly not inconceivable that 9, 10, 11 furlongs is going to be in the window. I paid quite a bit, but I'm expecting serious business improvement, going a mile and beyond. Gelded the horse after claiming. So, it's, let me see if I can find a claim from a mare that would go distance. Alright, so one of my recent claims is for a meager 10,000. Not a ton of races as a 2 and 3 year old. Going into that 10 race, outline, the speeds have been improving, and these aren't like 4 horse minimum fields. Beat a field full of 9, beat a 7 horse field, ran a decent speed against a 5 horse field in an open claiming race. But look down at here. The farthest the horse went was 9, and handily beaten, 10th by 12. But that was the fastest actual speed figure out of these dirt races that the horse went. So, I would be inclined to believe that going a little further distance shouldn't be a problem. And, these 8.5, 8, mile and 16th races indicate the same thing. So, certainly worth the 10,000 in claim, and, I don't think the breeding is screaming marathon, but, 9 to 10 furlongs would be right in the wheelhouse. And certainly improvement can be noted here. Plus some local racing, Chilean bred. There's options here. There's tons of options here. And really, that's cover your options when you have a newly bred horse. Let's see here. So you saw I have a bunch of horses on the farm, unraced 2-year-olds. As if they're probably going to not be at their best until they race long distance, but that's why we're going to start them up as 3-year-olds at some point. So let's see some 2-year-olds that I've shelved because of just slow starting. Here's a good one. Beautiful breeding. Gelded him recently. The dam absolutely hated winning. So, but alright, look at the racing style. We're not getting involved. We 5.5 in May. Sad face. June. Let's try dirt. Maybe the horse is just good on dirt. 8th of 9. And then July. I'm going to go a little farther on dirt. On turf. Closed well. Still not competitive in this bunch. And at this point, he's been shut down for the year. This was back in July. Don't beat yourself up about these. Like, those are improving efforts. Like, they don't look like much. And if you keep beating your head against the wall, the horse is going to was going to end up with like 9 starts and would finally break its maiden in like a $25,000 maiden claimer, running like a 75, going like 7.5 furlongs. Like, don't do that to yourself. Maybe the break doesn't do anything, but this racing style is clearly indicative of getting at least a little better with distance. So, shelve the horse. Forget about him. Just forget about him. Just have frolic on the farm, and then come back later and say, "Oh man, it's April. Let me get this one back, back in the stable and racing." And you'll go 9, 9.5, and suddenly this horse will be running 90s and 100s. It happens. But you won't have that opportunity if you waste races just beating your head against the wall trying to get this horse to run, as a 2-year-old, when that's just not going to happen. So, there's a lot I just shelved. One start, said, nah, we're not going to do it like this. Another horse, Kite of Pie, 57 first out. That was back in August. Dam is Day of Pie. And Day of Pie, let's see here. She did her best running, going 10 plus here. 10 furlongs there. Graded place going 16. Not a particularly great horse, but why would I sit here and look how look how the dam started off. 59, 6. Didn't even think about running until it got to 9.5. And then was stakes placed and eventually graded placed. So, take cue from, the mother, take cue from the dam or the he-mare. of what the horse can do or might do. Here we go again. Oil runs the government. 6.5. I was all of 9 to 5 in California. 9 to 5 odds with this horse. That's how well bred this horse is. Runs a 59. Runs 6th. But, you take it for what it's worth. Let's look at the dam. If you look at the dam, not a ton to go by. So, if there's not a ton to go by, look at some of the progeny here. Oil Blunder. Best work going long distance, 11, 12. Let's go to, Oil Owns the Day. But doing best work going 15, 16. So this tells me, be patient. Don't run the horse into the ground trying to get wins when, the horse just isn't going to give them to you until it's 3. And it's tough. That's why you breed a lot of them. You breed a lot of them because, a lot of them are going to have to wait. And the best way is just to forget about them. Just forget about it. Say, put them on the farm and say, well, I'll look at you later when, when a spot opens up, a horse gets claimed away from the stable, or you retire a horse. It's like, time to look at the farm and see what I got there, see what's marinating. So, let's see here. So I had a collective of 3-year-olds that were bred. Let me go to this stable really quick. Z Pie Holding. Bred a lot of 2-year-olds last year and just let them sit for a while. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of them were just terrible. I mean, this was one of the ones that I just kind of sat around. Look, you can see the gap here, 6 months. It's a really miserable 2-year-old effort in December. 50 is not really doing you much. I was 2 to 5 in that race, but I mean, we went. The breeding's not amazing, but it's distance breeding. I can go 10 or 11 now, but 70, 72, 70, sometimes you can be patient and, you're really not getting yourself too much improvement. It happens. They can't all be good, but sometimes, they are good. And so we'll show one of the situations, a couple of situations. Hurricane Point, the Saint Legend winner this year, highly talked about. It was out of that Z Pie Holding stable. Bred as a 2-year-old, did not start until April of his 3-year-old season. Why? Well, the he-mare he came from was a marathoner. Ran second in the Japanese Saint Legend, 15 furlongs on turf. Multiple graded placed on turf, grade 3 winner. Is a pure marathoner, pure long distance breeding. I mean, this horse was out and out a distance horse. Interestingly enough, this horse was claimed. I claimed this horse for $75,000. And here's another hint: don't be scared to jump distance like crazy. I mean, to me, pedigree screamed distance. So the first thing I did was send the horse 2 miles. Surprise, the horse was great going 2 miles. And the horse stayed going that distance forever. 2 miles, grade 1 win. You know, 1 mile and 7/8, second place. You know, the wins were hard to come by later in his career, but I mean, he did his job. He did a great thing, and you know, it was again one of those instances. Horse ran a whole lot as a 2-year-old, and early as a 3-year-old. By the time I got the horse, you know, we were flirting with the ability window, and it was probably a little late in the game to really get one over on those graded fields. So back to Hurricane Point. Hurricane Point started in April, 9 furlongs. We know the horse can go distance. I mean, the breeding, point of entries out of Dynaformer, you know, distance. I'm thinking distance here, and I want to get past 10 furlongs as soon as possible. First race, don't be swayed by the odds too much. It's going based on pure breeding. And 3-year-olds at that point have a lot of races and high speeds under their belt. There's no doubt he's going to debut at long odds. So, run second. One thing important to note here, look at this. Look how bad this jockey is. I mean, certainly he wasn't one of my chosen ones, winning at a whopping 4.6% on the year. That's nice. So that drunken journeyman gets second for me anyway. Come back a month later, spacing a little over a month, 10.5, 9-horse field. We run second again. We're closing. Both of these are closing. Let's look at the jockey again. Again, not one of my choices. 10%, not horrible, but not one of the top guys. We're running good. We're improving with distance too. Oh, if you're going to be marathoning, you want to see that. June 30th, we get to one of our targeted distances, 12 furlongs. Boom, 103, 3-length shellacking on the field. Open length shellacking. Again, not even one of my worthwhile riders. Don't even have him on the radar. 11.6%. 103, and 100 plus maiden victories, 100 plus speed figure maiden victories are certainly not as rare now in the new sim as they were back in the day, but I mean, it was still a nearly full field of 13 horses, and to just beat up on them by open lengths running away. You know, second was 4 lengths back, fourth was all the way double digits back. I mean, it tells you something. It's something, especially in just the third start. It's something to think about. And then, the rest. We'll just say the rest is history. Found a soft spot here. I knew it was going to be a light field. Wasn't training towards this grade 2, but saw the field, thought it was a good spot, and we blew up the tote board. That's kind of going to be a going theme with some of these. Blew up the tote board, 41-1, the longest shot on the board by far. Beats older. Faces just 3-year-olds. Good spacing here. Good 6 weeks here. Really, once that Great Wood victory was in there, definitely pointed to this race, and he didn't disappoint. Ran off. Again, once I got into the grade races, lo and behold, we're going with a guy that I am backing with money, and, he's one of the chosen big race guys I got. Go back here, J-Dog, another guy. He's winning all the money for me. This last 3 months is the pie guy. He's living large in Wyoming right now. J-Dog, but so he wins that big race for me. The Arc ambitious placement, short turnaround. You know, sometimes you buy into the hype way too much. He actually came out of that race injured. He's fine now. I farmed him immediately after that race. You know, he may or may not come back for the Winter Cup, but you know, it's right there. You know, patience. Be patient. Brett, as a 2-year-old, didn't even see the track until April. You know, I just honestly forgot about him, and then I brought him back, and boom, you know, good to go. So we'll go. Let's see. We got Road to the Stars here. Just a point here. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to send a horse long. You know, be patient. This horse is unbelievably well bred. Let's look at the dam. Starling Road. What's Starling Road? Beautiful breeding. Chris S. by Irish River. Beautiful turf breeding there. Has a grade 1. Look at this family. It's just brimming with talent. This horse's, you know, brother, Guinness Road, end of year winner, grade 1 millionaire. I mean, full brother. Full sister here was retired without never being bred. I mean, let's take a look. You know, it's a shame. Should have been more patient. Should have sent the horse like 12 furlongs. You know, this is what happens. This could have been another millionaire. This, you know, was retired early. Hasn't even been bred yet. So, kind of the rags to riches story of the stable here. So, again, right in that good window, 10 to 20 races, 3-year-old gelding. So let's see what happens here. 2-year-old, you know, lightly raced. They weren't trying to force it. You know, gelded. And I really like the break here. Really like the break. Horse comes back from the break, though. Not interested. The horse is racing in Wyoming. 12,000 claimer. Runs third. 18 days. 4 claimer in Jersey. Closes in a 7 furlong race. Closes 5.5 lengths to win. 8 to 5. Gets claimed. Now this is where the horse catches my eye. I looked at this race. Pennsylvania, $75,000 claiming race for Nauer as a 4. Mind you, this horse was still a Nauer at 2 at this point. And you know, the breeding was just too good for me to pass up. You know, do you want to make it a habit of claiming horses at $475,000 after they just came out of a 4,000 claiming race? No, but you know, sometimes you just gotta take a stab. And when you got breeding like this, you know, these lines are amazing. And to even be able to dip your toe into a bloodline, solid producing bloodline like this, it's always worth, you know, it was worth more. It was worth to the 75,000 and whatever breeding point amount came along with it. One thing you can bet though is that when the horse came back from that mile and 16th with a whopping 82 and was second to last, you know, I wasn't pinning particularly high hopes on a good effort. So, you know, I was possibly regretting my decision, but you know, the horse went into the training regimen, and you know, the first thing I was going to do was go distance. Don't waste time. Don't, you know, lollygag. Let's go distance. 1.5 miles, 94, third place in an allowance race. Nice improvement. nice improvement, looked good finishing in the 12. We know this breeding should be 12 to 16, no problem. This is where it gets interesting. I wanted to go 16. Look all over the place. There's no good races to go 16, at least for 3-year-olds alone. You know, I still have a non-winner of 2 at this point, you know, with the only win being a 4-claimer. But I wanted to go 16, and damn it, I was going to go 16 furlongs, even if it was going to be older. Called a short field, 4 horses, and this is where it got interesting. 4 3/4, 14 to 1, blows the field to bits. I had one of my selected riders on here, Kate Baines over in Washington. Blows the field apart. Is it a great field? No, it's not a great field, but it's older, and I have a horse, a non-winner 2, that just beat older non-winner 3X horses. And even though it was a 4-horse field, there's something to be said. You know, that's an impressive race. You know, again, it's not always about speed figures. Is 96 an amazing speed figure? No. It's a good one, though, but it's not amazing. But when you win going away like that, it makes you think. There's something, you know, there's something about this runner. So then, you know, comes still. This horse is still eligible for non-winners of 3 at this point. Wait a little less than a month. 3-year-olds only. We're going to 16 that we want. Irish homebreds. This time we're going against a non-winners of 6. Non-winners of 6. I have a non-winner of 3. And what's he do? He blows up the field anyway. Just blows him up. Again, 4-length victory. I mean, we're not facing world beaters, but, you know, we're facing established, long running horses. And a kick like that, again, just, it's, you know, it's something, it's impressive. You start to get the feeling, you start to get thinking, you know, it's really about watching the horse and having it tell you, you know, what it can do. So, naturally, I know I got a marathoner. I've jumped class, I've class skipped, and this is a huge factor. If you're trying to determine if you have a really good potential horse, if the horse can jump classes and not blink an eye, that tells you got something special on your hands. And this horse, 16, just doesn't even blink and just beats them to smithereens without one of my top riders. You know, these are chosen riders for local circuits, but they're not any of my, you know, world-class guys. So, you know, good spacing, about 6 weeks. We go to the Hanging Chad. We put Everhard on. One of the big guys. We like Everhard. He makes horses go fast. And he's able to utilize that kick. We turn back a little bit. This is a sneaky turn back. You know, even though going 12, we only finished 3rd. We sneaky turn back. As long, you know, the rider should be able to improve the horse enough to turn back that 14 and make it and make the move at the right time. And, you know, sat back not too far and nailed the 3-year-old field. Again, look at it. I mean, look, you know, it's me, my horse, Lenny, this horse here, and then everyone's way far back. And so this horse is way above his, he's ahead of the game for 3-year-olds at this point. 15 to 1. So what do you do next? I'll admit, as soon as that race was over, and I looked at the schedule, I immediately thought the Millwood Cup would make sense. Don't be. This is not the time to start, wondering what you shouldn't be doing. This is the time to start pushing. You just had a horse go from 92 to 109. Again, a length. Don't second guess yourself at this point. I didn't. He still has a 6-month tag. That's how fresh we've gotten this horse to go. And he won the Millwood Cup. I had him entered. He wasn't even the stronger of the entries, I thought, at least. 54-1. 54-1, and on the improve. It's so much more about getting the horse positioned and training, and getting the horse set up for that big speed win, that big effort. You don't want to pop that effort way too soon, especially in some lower class race like an ungraded stakes or something. You want to make sure that the horse runs its best against the best, and that's what happened here. It's a huge effort. This is my other entry, Spare No Oil. Homebred. I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, again, we're in the window. 11 starts, we're in the window. Here's one, 2-year-old look, 5.5, third, dirt, 7 furlongs, nothing. So we go 7.5 up. Nice effort, wins opening up. So figure keep going, and horse shows a win. Goes 8 furlongs, runs third, and that's when the horse gets shelved for a good 7 months. 7. It just patience. I mean, I can't stress that enough. If there's nothing else about this stop sucking at the sim episode, be flippin' patient. Spare no expense. Look at this, the he-mare. What did this he-mare excel at? 12 furlongs, 14 furlongs, 16 furlongs. This slow starter. Look at this is back before I followed my own stupid damn advice. Look at this. Look how many 2-year-old starts here. The horse started in March, nothing. Ran in April, nothing. May, nothing. July, nothing. August, nothing. I was insistent on just beating my head against the wall. This horse didn't break his maiden until, God, I can't even count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 start. Maiden breaker. May of his 3-year-old year. The farthest he had gone. And look how many races are just wasted. These are all wasted efforts. Don't do that. Had I held off soon, he probably wins this Queen's Flower Pot. I could easily have said, okay, well, shelf. Right after April, shelf. Come back in June. And come back in like March or something. Put a race under. And go from there. But by the time by the time I realize this horse is marathoning, we're way outside the window here, and look, wear and tear sets in. This is start 16, I think I said. So this is start 17. 18, 19, 20. We're just wasting efforts here. Next thing you know, I'm trying to get him, get the horse to win stakes. Can't do it. Horse has a terrible record, with about 20 of those races really just not needed. So we go back to Spare No Oil. What do? Several years later, much smarter. Race. 4 races as a 2-year-old. Shelf. 7 months. 7 months on the shelf. go on a little small field, 8.5, right off the shelf. 8.5 wins with a 95. Okay, again, we still want to go the distances, so we gotta wait. May 4th closing. It's not bad. This is a tough little field here. Full field of 13. This is not a particularly good rider in Louisiana. There's a ton of good riders down there. A Jolly, F Oxon, but terrible. It's not a bad effort. So finally, we get in June. We get to the 12F. Just destroys them. It's not even close. So how many races do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7th race, wins going 12 furlongs, going away. So, we haven't wasted so many races here. We're not getting beat up by wear and tear. Go to July, another 12 furlong race. Nice speed figure, 3-year-olds only. So, now we're in prime position to jump in class and excel, to show, we have some big runs coming up. We haven't wasted good runs. We haven't indulged in wear and tear. So we go just a month here. Face older, we go 16. And we pop a 101. And we win going away. Jay Dizzle. Jockey, one of the guys I like. I pay him a bit more. And then what do? We reel back quickly here. And this wasn't planned, but field was going to come up super weak. The field just, the horror wasn't going to plan here, but there wasn't a lot of races that I liked. So came back pretty quickly. Just crushes the field. And then I put them in the Millwood. Probably some underlying tiredness because of this little short rest. So disappointed there. Probably tired because of that short break in the 2 races here. And so I've put them on the shelf again. No rush. There's still plenty of good races in this horse. He's just 11 starts. Keep the racing to a minimum. There's no reason to over race. Look at this horse. Dyed Candy. Love this runner. Look at this. Again, wasting races here. 2-year-old, bred real late in 2-year-old season. Just to make sure I couldn't, fuck it up. 8.5 on dirt. Ugly. Take about, sit on the shelf for a month. 3-year-old, mile on turf. Mediocre. So we go. I know this pointing towards longer. 9.5, second. Again, about a month between races. And this is where it probably gets a little bit heavy here. Schedule gets a little quick. Showing life, going those marathons. Looking good. This is where it changes up though, because again, we're still fairly lightly raced here. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we did have 12 races here as a 3-year-old. That's still fairly light. wasn't facing super ultra tough competition. So some of these races, not a ton of wear and tear associated. Then as a 4-year-old, we're going to race stakes, not doing much. At this point, solid router, solid long turf runner, second in the stakes here. But, this is where you got to take chances. And this is where jockeys really, really help your cause, especially the good ones. We'll save that for another episode of Stop Sucking at the Sim, but turn back to 11. Let's look at the results here. Field comes up not tough, and if you see a field, if the big boys are somewhere else, and you have a horse that has ability, give it a go. If your horse is on the cusp of putting a big race together, and you find a soft field, give it a go. There's no reason. The timing worked out well. A little over a month, 6 weeks. Get lucky. You never. Sometimes horses will make big improvements when they get the world-class rider on board, and that happened here. And luckily, we didn't have too many wasted efforts back here. So, so for today, for this episode, I'm going to just wrap it up there. There's a lot of scattered-brained information, and we'll get a little more targeted and poignant on the next few episodes. But the final thought here is wear and tear cannot be avoided in the sim. And in the sim, especially the new sim, your best running is going to be between 10 races and 20 races. Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, but don't sabotage your runner's chances because you want to force them to race as 2-year-olds. Just utilize the farm best you can and be patient. Put them in there, forget about them, especially the ones that have like 1 start, 2 starts. Put them in there and say, hey, just mature a little bit. We'll come back, we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back as a 3-year-old and see what happens. Just don't be in a rush to race as a 2-year-old. Maybe, if you really want to, give them 1 run. And, if it's kind of an even effort, put them on the shelf. Come back later. There's no shame in it's like the old saying goes, discretion's the better part of valor. Just don't try to make things happen when they're just not happening. Your runners will thank you for it, and hopefully they'll thank you by greatly improving. And when you bring them out the shed, you'll have something really really special to be campaigning. So best of luck in your endeavors, and don't suck at the sim. Don't over race your well-bred 2-year-olds that are unlikely to mature at all until they're 3 or the distances get much longer. That is my parting shot.